In 2009, two IIT and Stanford graduates quit their cushy, well-paying American jobs and came back home to India to digitize Indian clinics. 15 months later, people refused to buy their software. The company ran out of cash. The company shut. All these guys saved was a database of 40,000 medicine names and their formulations. Now, fast forward to 2013, Amir Khan on Satyamev Jayate aired an episode about generic drugs. So India goes on to Google and searches for generic medicines, generic drugs. And these guys were ranking number 1 on it. In just 72 hours, 3 days, they drove 3 lakh downloads on their app. And that was the birth of the company called 1mg. In 2022, Tata acquired a majority stake in 1mg for over 720 crores in all-cash deal. Today, 1mg is a unicorn. We sat down with Prashant, its founder, to understand how he turned a shutdown into a unicorn and how he also built brands like Muscle Blaze and HealthCart along the journey. Tune into this. Maybe you can copy something from his playbook. Prashant, let's get into the meat directly. You were running before, everyone knows 1mg today, but before 1mg, there was a company called Health Chakra that you were running, and that didn't do so well. So what's the story with Health Chakra? What did you try to do? What did not work so well? And did you really shut it down? Walk me through that phase in life. What year was it?
Sure. So that was 2009. When Samir and I had just come back from the US. So the journey was before 1mg, there was HealthCart, and before HealthCart was Health Chakra. That was right. 2009 November. Samir and I came back from the US. And the idea was simple and straightforward. It's actually the same, that healthcare in India will get digitized, healthcare in India will get organized. And we believed at that time that the starting point will be the clinic, the doctor's clinic, and let's create a software for practice management where we start engaging with the doctors to get all the patients, all their e-prescriptions, EMR, EHR, all the good stuff. So spent a good year and a half at it. And I think it was our first experience of really immersing ourselves into this space and working with doctors, working with patients. I don't call it a failure per se. It's just because the other two companies that came out were kind of based on whatever we learned during that interesting phase. But yes, it was a challenging time because we could clearly see that the original thesis was not the thesis that was playing out the way we anticipated, but the plethora of learnings that accumulated over that 15-month phase, I think, held us in good stead.
Okay, 2 questions. Were you trying to build a practo, or were you doing something for patient management, like a B2B side of things? And secondly, what went wrong?
No, so we were trying to build a practice management software. So it was everything that a practice needs. So pretty much Practo also has all those features now. So it was basically your e-prescription, EMR, EHR, your appointment booking, your scheduling, your reminders, all that kind of stuff, which helps the doctor engage better with the patients. Now, what went wrong with the business plan? Couple of things. One, the adoption. In this case, what we learned was changing behavior of anyone, especially as we learned doctors, was always going to be very, very hard. And in this case, the benefit was not actually very apparent to the person who we wanted to change the behavior. Now, see, changing behavior for a consumer who wants to change a behavior is hard enough. We all want to lose weight. We all want to get fit. Nudges, behavioral changes are hard. Now, in this case where the value itself is not clear, and the doctors felt they were spending a lot more time trying to learn and type and all that for what? What do they get in return? And I think that was a very fundamental learning. The other big learning actually along the way that we had was that if we learned that there's a big pain point or a bigger pain point on the consumer end of the spectrum. The consumers We realized that probably that's one of the big flaws of healthcare, not only in India but around the world, that everybody designs systems with either the provider or the payer in the middle, payer being the insurance company. Healthcare never worked with putting the patient at the center. And patient centricity was not really a concept in healthcare. And we felt that was a fundamental reason people don't really appreciate or like the experience of dealing with healthcare. And we felt, okay, that is a very fundamental shift. We've been focusing on a doctor-centric ecosystem. Doctor, while being a very important stakeholder, the fact is that the ecosystem needs to be reconfigured with the patient at the center. That's also the right way to build it. Besides, of course, the doctors not wanting to adopt technology and software at the scale that would have made sense for us. Also, obviously, that played a role in making us think broader about what problem we want to solve and is this the most efficient way to go about it. And we figured that at the end of the day, our business model anyway was working with the patients paying via the doctors in many cases. If you want to go and serve the patients who's in the end going to pay for your services, why not go direct? So started HealthCart in 2011 with a simple focus that can we solve the access problem, and then started the journey towards
It's
the
the same health
consumer
card
side.
that's still around, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, very nice. Okay, cool. Now let me sort of go to something a little more personal, and then I want to circle back to this
Sure.
part. What sort of a family do you grow up in, Prashant?
So I would say a normal middle class family. Professionals, all professionals. Nobody in my extended family also ever engaged in any business
What
per
kind of
se.
professionals?
So my dad is an engineer. Mom was a dietitian and a school teacher for a while, and then a housewife. My relatives would be doctors, architects, just lawyers, accountants, all that kind of the basic professionals that we would have in the ecosystem. So that's the way the family or the extended family structure was. So it was all about education and get a stable career. So I think that was the upbringing.
And this was back in Delhi.
Back in Delhi, I grew up in West Delhi. Yeah.
Got it. Now, middle class or service classes, how we sort of white collar service classes, what we can call such a family.
Yeah.
Middle class is a little funny. These guys have something to lose. If you are not the middle class, you can aim for you can swing the bat, and you don't have much to lose because you anyway don't have much. And the upper class has a good appetite, so they can really swing it out of the park. The middle class in India has just enough, so their risk appetite is very tricky. So
Yeah.
when you fail your first business, and and you said you came back from US, started a business, shut it down. How did that feel? And more so, how did that feel to your near and dear ones, the community that you belong to?
Sure. A little more context on that, but I think it's a
Sure.
great question.
Right.
So, see, both Samir and I came from very similar in that sense background. Samir came from a family of CAs, and both of us studied at IIT Delhi. The good news is that we had enough experience with pretty decent institutions. So, Samir is IIT Delhi and Harvard Business School, worked as an investment banker with UBS in the US. After IIT, I worked with Unilever, then did my MBA at Stanford and worked with McKinsey out in San Francisco. So both of us knew we had decent pedigree and fallback. To be honest, it's it's not.
That became your appetite.
Yeah, we had that confidence that if this thing doesn't work out, we'll go back to a job where we are very employable. We had that
Right.
delusion or confidence or whatever you might want to call it, but
Right.
we felt what would be the worst case, and our, at least in my case, my family was more than happy that I just came back from the US. So they were like, "ठीक है, they'll figure it out, and we're happy that you're back." But I think the challenging part was that for both of us, life till date had been very linear. You kind of know what is supposed to be your target to achieve. You work hard and you achieve that, whether it was like, again, IIT, then get a job at Unilever, then apply for business school, get into Stanford, apply for jobs, get into McKinsey. It's kind of you have 3-4 things to aim for. You get one of those 3-4 things by working hard and linear. And now finally we were in a situation where we set our sight on something and had our plans and were working hard, and it wasn't really happening. It wasn't really playing out the way we envisaged.
Right.
So that reckoning that, okay, this is a lot more complicated was there. That and is it time to call it quits? Is it time to just accept that this won't happen? This is not the right thing. And I think those questions we did ask ourselves and each other quite a bit. And the benefit was that both Samir and I were reasonably mature and had entered our 30s by that time. So it wasn't, so I think we were mentally in a good space that we knew what we were jumping into. And then, of course, at the end of it, we got lucky that things did turn around in a direction that made sense for us. But yes, there was a phase where we would question, what are we doing? Why are we doing it? Our friends are getting high-paying jobs in venture capital and private equity in India, which also was taking off. Every other sector in the Indian startup ecosystem seemed to be taking off, except for the one that we seem to have jumped into. So you read the news and you only get to read the success, right? So I think all that was there, but mostly we were fairly grounded and logical about these things. And secondly, it really helps to have in such times a well-aligned co-founder who sometimes I will question and he will have the optimism, and sometimes vice versa. So I think those circumstances they all play a role. In the end, I think it's part of the game.
Got it. Okay. So Health Chakra was shutting down, but you didn't really quit the sector. You pulled something else out of it. Walk me through that. Like how?
So
would you hence call it a shutdown, or would you call it a pivot?
Yeah, you could call it.
I mean, it was an idea pivot, may not be a business pivot.
It was I would say an evolution in many ways, or call it a pivot is probably a better term, because we did not really shut it down to pick up a completely different view of the world. In fact, it was the learnings of that experience. When we sat in the doctor's clinic, we would speak with multiple patients. And a big part of what we were trying to do with the doctors also is e-prescription, going to a pharmacy that would deliver medicines at home, and connecting neighborhood labs to the doctor's clinic as well. So that was always a part of the plan. It's just that we figured that for that you need a critical mass of doctors. And now with e-commerce taking off, maybe if you want the consumers to access medicines and lab tests or anything else, just go directly to the consumer rather than try and... So we questioned the premise that for this business model to work is the most efficient way to actually get doctors used to a software and then use that to connect with the consumer, or just connect directly with the consumer. That's anyway going to be the bulk of the business model. So it is and when we were sitting there in doctors' clinics in various parts of the city, we would see patients come from nearby Meerut, Saharanpur, this, that, Rewari. And while going, they would ask the front desk, where do I get these medicines, and Rewari ke liye kaise milegi, ya Meerut kaise? So some chemist out there will be there who would either ship them across, or they would send people to the city to keep accessing those medicines. And we felt, okay, this is a very straightforward solve using e-commerce. If they just had a a standard way to place their orders, and e-commerce had taken off. In Flipkart was around, so we felt it's time for India to have India's health store. Probably will not be a brick and mortar chain. Probably digital will get there first, and let's try it out. So we piloted in November of 2010, and then March of 2011, HealthCart was launched. So in that ways, it kind of was a evolution or a pivot, not really a shutdown per se.
Got it. So, what's the story between HealthCart and 1mg? HealthCart in today's form is, I think you are the most loved by fitness and supplements enthusiasts. Back in the day, was HealthCart selling supplements? Was it selling medicines, and eventually 1mg started selling medicines, or what was the play?
No. So I'll tell you. So HealthCart was supposed to be a broad-based health store, and that time the e-commerce model was very much a one central location shipping nationwide, and just early days of e-commerce. And HealthCart started as a broad-based non-medicines. So we started with baby category, nutrition supplements, some devices, some personal care products, etc., etc. And what we learned over a reasonably quick period of time was that nutrition supplements had a very fundamental problem of around authenticity. And the market was just full of all kinds of shady stuff, counterfeit stuff, low quality stuff. And HealthCart built its brand only on one premise, which is authenticity. You get genuine nutrition supplements, and that category really took off. And this was around the time when Flipkart, Amazon, Snapdeal, Paytm, a lot of horizontal e-commerce had also taken off, and also vertical e-commerce, Baby OA, First Cry, in this category, etc., etc. So we took a very hard look at our business and at HealthCart, and figured that the place there where we are adding any value to the ecosystem or the consumer is actually nutrition supplements. Everything else, we don't have the war chest or the appetite to fight the horizontal e-commerce battle on categories where the supply chains are fairly sorted otherwise. So we opted out of that, and HealthCart kind of found its niche and built its base in the performance supplements category, where it became the place where you get the genuine products. And over 2012, and we launched our own brand there, Muscle Blaze, and then that took off, and so the HealthCart became more a D2C story that and did fantastically well. Now, how did 1mg happen?
And not a lot of people know. I mean, sure, your entire organization know, but Muscle Blaze is a HealthCart brand, so you're technically the founder of Muscle Blaze as well.
Yes, in fact, there were two things that got launched August 25, 2012. One was Muscle Blaze, the other was called HealthCart Plus. HealthCart Plus is what became 1mg. Muscle Blaze is what became the mainstay of the HealthCart business. So I think those are pretty fortuitous event. So HealthCart Plus, what was that? That's something that is, I think, and because that became 1mg, so indulge me for a little bit. I'll give you the story behind that. So while working with doctors, we needed a database of medicines for the doctors to do e-prescription. So we got that built by people sitting down and doing data entry through various manuals, through going through distributor logs and all of that, trying to get all the medicines we could find, brand name, salt name, side effects, interactions, how to use, how not to use, etc., etc. Whatever literature may be available, we just got a bunch of guys just doing Excel data entry work. Now, this was to enable doctors to do e-prescription, and also if they are prescribing and a certain medicine is not available with the patient, they can quickly refer what other medicines are available that they can look at, etc., etc. And the idea was, we'll connect this with some offline pharmacy, etc., and a doctor will be able to send a prescription directly, all that stuff that you see in the Western markets. Then what happened is that, of course, doctors didn't find much use for this information, but we felt this is still very valuable information, especially the learning that we got was that India is a unique market where for pretty much any generic salt, there would be 20, 30, at times 200 different brands trying to sell the same salt in their brand name.
Right.
And the prices would vary wildly.
Right.
80, 90, and in fact, you could, while there is the quality is supposed to be the same, but even if you look at, it's not just about generics, it's about for many companies you would see, or you pick up a salt, you would see that equivalent companies or so-called better companies would be priced at much lower. So it's
Right.
not an efficient market. And consumers did not know. Consumers had no idea that there is this market failure happening here where prices of chronic medicines that they have to take all their life, they could save 20, 30, 80% while taking an alternate, similar, or in perception sometimes superior brands, or going generic. So and that was around, so we had this database ready, we had this information ready, we didn't know what to do with it. And around that time, the Satyamev Jayate episode also came with Amir Khan, when we had made our first web portal.
Can you tell me about that Satyamev Jayate episode?
Yeah, I'll come
how it
to
had
that.
anything to do with you?
Yeah, no, so what we had developed was already a web portal with medicine information, and put it out in the ether that in case anybody finds any use of medicine information, since we already have it, let's put it out there. Now, around that time, the app ecosystem was developing in the country. And at HealthCart, we were thinking, let's do something exciting in the app ecosystem. We, of course, have our commerce app, but we have this data sitting with us and this information around medicines that is probably the first and only digital database of medicines in the country. And it gives all the information around medicines that we could find and had coded into those backend tables. So we put it out there as a website first, and then created an app for HealthCart Plus, and we called it HealthCart Plus. And just around that time happened we launched, and we found that Amir Khan episode was around that time on Satyamev Jayate, where he basically spoke about exactly the same thing, that there is this doctor pharma nexus, and medicines certain brands are priced so high, and the same medicine you can get at 90% cheaper, 80% cheaper, etc., etc. So this entire awareness of generics took off in 2012 in a very interesting manner. And this happened to be right around the time of our launch. So what we saw as a result was that the consumer awareness just started getting there. And then it was January of 2013, 23rd January, if I'm not mistaken, a WhatsApp message starts circulating that it said, very, very, very important, never buy your medicines without checking on this app called HealthCart Plus. And then it gave examples of all kinds, and then Dr. Pharma Nexus, this, that, all those conversations were a part of that. And so that's how we saw the consumers were already primed with the Amir Khan episode of Satyamev Jayate. Then this WhatsApp message that got circulated just went viral in a big way.
And it had nothing to do with either.
I wish we could engineer these kind of things, but it was pure providence. After that, we tried to send our own messages many, many times. Nothing went viral, I think. But this was a genuine consumer message that came. I don't know. I still don't know from where. But we had 300,000 downloads a day. From nowhere, we became India's largest health app.
But from how you're describing HealthCart Plus to me, or 1mg now, back then it had no commercial angle. It was just like a very accessible content app.
It had no business model associated with it. It wasn't supposed to be. It was supposed to be a cool thing, an information platform, just to make sure that there is awareness. And we thought we should do something more than just commerce. So let's put it out and let people find use if there is some. But what the response really opened our eyes in a big way, because it wasn't really the most elegant uh, technology product. It was actually the message that was most important. And frankly, the message was that the consumers are actually seeking transparency in the healthcare that they are getting. They are not trusting that the system is working for them. And they are reacting very, very actively on anything that kind of throws light on how they can protect themselves in this system that is designed against them. And I thought this is a very powerful message for us to go back to what we came to do. We believe that digitization will be at the heart of healthcare in India in the coming phase.
Right.
Maybe this was the platform, because the consumer engagement are obviously the question we had was, is this a flash in the pan, a bunch of excitement, and the app dies down over a period of time, or does it take a life of its own? And over the next year or two, it just kept growing and growing and growing with zero marketing spend. And as I said, not the most elegant product. We made the product better, but we knew there was a lot to be done there. And finally, we got convinced that this thing, we had around 2014, around 1.5 million downloads, and HealthCart Plus had become by far India's largest health app. In the very early stages of app ecosystem, the number 2 health app at that time must be a HealthCart, around 50,000 downloads. That's the kind of thing. And with all the muscle and marketing might we had put behind it, HealthCart,
Right.
HealthCart Plus just took off. And we were like, okay. And medicine search, and when I say took off, it's not just downloads happening, people actually coming back to read about medicines and other things that we had put out there. So we're like, okay, we finally have a digital health platform that people are engaging with. Let's build the digital health company that we came to build, with the patient at the center, with this as our core. So then we decided that, okay, this deserves a business model in its own right. And so we were learning, and we were iterating, and we were kind of figuring out the business model. Business model came as step 2, not as the step 1.
Right. How did it become a business? How did it finally become 1mg?
Yeah. So I think on that, interestingly, it was fairly apparent to us that if so many people are looking for medicines, there's a very strong case to build a e-pharmacy using this.
Right.
But
which was also the premise for HealthCart in the beginning.
Yep. But I think the interesting thing was how it transpired was actually a lot of users, and at that time our app used to be rated 5 by most of the users, and a few of the users started rating it as 2 or 3. And the comments were that when we can buy everything else online, why can't we, what do we do with just the information? Why can't we buy?
Right.
And we're like, okay, now here comes the business model. So let's see if we can make it happen. So the first phase was we went and signed up a bunch of pharmacies, hyper local pharmacies, that we will send you, if any consumer request came, we'll connect them with you and forward the prescription to you, and you do the delivery. So we did that as a pilot in Gurgaon and Delhi. And very soon realized that, okay, people are actually seeking a lot of medicines, and this is real. This is happening, and people are actually happy to upload their prescriptions and give it to us, and we will pass it to the neighborhood pharmacy to do the delivery. So that's how we experimented. The modeling was fairly straightforward. That now we have got so many people. At that point, what we were discussing or thinking about was, what is the right business model? Should we go like WebMD, pure content and advertising, or should we go transactions? And we felt
WebMD
that
would have been a business model for the businesses. I mean, you would have monetized businesses.
Just advertising and content being monetized in various.
You would have monetized pharma.
Likely, yes.
Yeah.
So then we felt that, okay, pharma in India itself is not very actively engaging with consumers, or they don't have really budgets that go to consumer.
Right.
That will happen, but that will probably happen once the platform has more maturity and more depth about the consumers, which transactions give. When you do transactions, you get prescriptions, you get lab results, etc., etc. And the transactions markets had evolved in e-commerce in India. I think this was probably one of the few remaining categories uh, as yet not explored. So it had to happen, and we're like,
Right.
okay, we are well positioned um, to do that. We have a top of the funnel. Consumers are coming to us. Medicine search, very high context search, very high intent search. You don't come for general knowledge or entertainment to read about medicines. You come when you need them and want to know about them because it's relevant to you. So we're like, okay, top of the funnel is there. People are asking for it. We obviously wanted to build a business model around it. So that's how it happened. And 2015, we spun it out and rebranded it as 1MG.
Got it. Lovely. Okay. So, you spoke about health card. You spoke about health card plus. You spoke about how 1MG, was born. Talk me through your fundraising journey in, building all of these brands. Were you rejected in the beginning? How was the fundraising in Health Chakra? Eventually, did you work with the same investors? What really happened? As much as you can share.
Sure. No, so Health Chakra was a. So see, we came from very pretty decent pedigree, and we were trying to. We had a lot of interest from. I'm sorry.
Were you bootstrapping it? No.
We were, but we were also talking to a bunch of investors at that point, and we had a decent interest. To be honest, a bunch of people were keen to support us in the Health Chakra days, but were not comfortable or confident that the business model was actually going to play out in a way that. So we were very kind of unsure about taking money till we knew that okay, this is something that'll play out in a decent way.
Right.
And finally, the moment we decided that okay, direct to consumer e-commerce is actually what we are fairly convinced is the right way to go about it. We raised capital straight up. So with the same investors largely who were in touch with us through the Health Chakra journey. So
Right.
it was just one phone call at that point to get us our first round of investment. So that the start was probably one of the easier ones. Subsequent rounds, it's all about your metrics and numbers and situation in the market. But first round, I think we did have we had a benefit. One, that people were intrigued by the pedigree of the team and the space we were looking at.
Right.
And two, we did not really take money till we were sure. So, and we spent a good year in, I would say, education, the Health Chakra experience, just learning. So I think when we finally said that, okay, now we are ready in case you are still interested, but this is the business model, people cut the check right away.
Very nice. How much did you end up raising throughout lifetime?
Now that I've lost track across Health Cart and 1MG together would have raised around 12 or 13 rounds till date. Must be probably 300, 400, 500. Well, I actually don't know. Somebody will have to do the math. Maybe I should.
300, 500 mil. Okay, cool. Okay.
It's
It's almost double the gap.
Yeah. No, because Health Cart since 2015 has its own trajectory where
Right.
a lot of money has come into the company there as well. And then there is sometimes primary, sometimes secondary, what you count, what you don't count. So I'm just
Okay, so
wondering.
how
But in
big
the
are these?
entities, in the name of entities that we have created, 500 million has come in, certainly primary and secondary.
And how big are these brands today? If you had to, sort of tell me in terms of revenue.
So I think both Health Cart and 1MG today are market leaders in their own markets, both at around 30+% market share. In terms of revenues, I don't think we'll go into those numbers. Some of them get published here and there. So I'll just leave it. People can do their Google searches. We don't share our revenues, but we are certainly growing our market share and growing fast. And HealthCart is already profitable. 1mg is turning profitable soon.
Prashant, when was Health Chakra? It was 2010?
2009 November is when we came back and started that. So 2010 was the Health Chakra journey, pretty much.
Got it. We're sitting in 2025, and today we have an ecosystem where, failures are much rather acceptable. They're a stepping stone to learning in business, especially, and the entire ecosystem looks at them differently. They were
That's
always
right.
they were always a stepping stone, but now the reputation of failure has changed. Now, back in the day, when you come in with so much promise and Health Chakra did not click, I understand that you try to take it as logically as you would, that okay, we've learned, we've validated, it's been invalidated, so we're going to move elsewhere. But talk to me through the moral point of things, moral side of things, because again, humans are not all that logical as they would like to believe they were in hindsight.
Yeah, but as I said, morale was it's a up and down journey. It's very variable. And that's where having a co-founder with you in the journey helps. So you're down, somebody else is willing to pull you up, and there's some anchor keeping both of us at different times going. But I think fundamentally, given that the story ended well, it's all worked out fine. But what Sameer and I had pre-agreed with each other was that whatever we do, we'll give it a clear 2-year shot, and we will
Right.
not look left or right or look at any distractions. And had the pivot into HealthCart also not worked out, we would have ended up taking corporate jobs somewhere or the other. I think we didn't have. We were a little fearless about that part. We had gotten to that stage in life that it didn't weigh us down much. It's just that it was frustrating that this logical thing refuses to happen the way we think it should. But
Right.
barring that, I thought it was. We were fortunate. We were very lucky that we did with enough confidence and experience under our belt that we knew our market value was real. But today, you're right, it's so much better. Today it's seen as a plus that you have gone
It's
through
a badge
that
of honor
grind.
today. Yeah.
Yeah, at that time it would have been okay, one back step, and now again finally you are back on the real life track, and now you'll stay in the corporate job properly. So
Right.
I think it's okay. But when we built HealthCart also, we had a lot of people who had tried their hands at entrepreneurship and did not work out. So,
Right.
And those were some of our most successful folks.
Right. Got it. But so I think you guys were fairly quick to, pivot out of it, because if you'd given yourself 2 years, you were able to validate the thesis in the first year, and you moved out. You had another year of, self runway left. So
Yeah.
it was fairly quick. You didn't waste much time.
Yeah. We were pretty hard upon ourselves in recognizing that, okay, if this is not working out, then it is not working out. We can't beyond a point delude ourselves. And that's one of the hardest decisions actually. Are we very close to something working out and giving up, or and is it about persistence and resilience, or
Right.
or is it about a logical dispassionate view of things as they stand, and you have to go with your gut in some of these situations. And we don't know what would have happened had we stuck to it. Maybe that would also have taken off. Who knows? Maybe it would not. But at that point, it was pretty apparent to us that the way this is going and the rate at which the change is happening and the excitement on the consumer side, it makes a lot more sense for us to pay attention where the opportunity is.
I mean, very smart. How do you let's talk to somebody who's watching this, who's an aspiring entrepreneur, probably coming from tier 2 India. What is the mantra or mental model around whether you should quit because you are tired, climbing the mountain, or should you quit because it's a wrong mountain to climb. Like whether you should quit because you're not able to pull off this lack of executionary knowledge or whatever capability or resources, or should you quit because there is no fit here. How do you decide that? How do you decide the word that you said? I think determination, perseverance. Is this a determination, perseverance battle, or is it a fit battle?
It's a very, very hard situation to find yourself in, and I think, see, there are, at least my learning is, there are at least two types of situations very clear. One is what you are taking on. Is it a market risk, or secondly, is it an execution risk? And third is if it is a competitive scenario / capital risk. So
Define
those are
these
the
for me.
three. Yeah. So see, the market risk is that you are trying to create a market that doesn't exist, and
Right.
it's not happening. I think those situations are harder than one thinks. However logical they may be, markets move when they move. You cannot push them beyond a point. And if you find yourself in a situation and are so you want to be there just in time, but if you are 3 years too early, you'll probably be doing the groundwork for whoever will be the ultimate person or company that times it right. So there are umpteen examples of people who tried this before their time and it doesn't work out. Getting a sense of, are you in a situation where this market is not going to play out, does require a quite a deep sense of the macro factors at play that will make this move. And understanding, in our case, we felt it was a market situation, that this market will not move. This will not move for the next 2, 3, 5 years in the way that, because the markets where it did move, the Western markets, it was a carrot and stick driving behavior change. Not really, again, there also it didn't happen out of doctors wanting to do it. It's just made economic sense to do it and negative economic sense not to do it. So I think those kind of things, market risks, if you can identify, if you are in the luxury of having enough input or having spent enough time in it, you reach that conclusion that I'm a little too early in this game is not taking off. That's one part. The second part, as I said, is the execution risk, that yes, the market is there, we just need to find the right channel and the right business model and this and that, and it's about, I think that's a battle worth persisting with till you exhaust all options, because there, at least it's a validated opportunity that somebody is going to deliver on this. It will happen. There is a market. There is a need for the company that you are creating, which the market is just waiting for you to put it together and solve it in a way that works. Very much worth going after. The third is, I am in a market that is there, but the competition has just raised so much capital that I am not going to be able to compete, because this sector requires way too much capital and other investors. For example, Amazon is there and Flipkart is there and Snapdeal is there, and my idea happens to be that I want to be a horizontal e-commerce. Chances are very few, and you can't do it without capital. Chances are very few investors would step up to back it. It's just the practical situation that the market structure got created in this sector already. So for you to jump in, you really need strong capital support, and it's not coming your way. Time to look another direction, because these markets are, at least because they are capital dependent, they're kind of closed till the next technology shift happens. And they do happen, but then those shifts will not happen in this doing the same thing again. A quick commerce may disrupt that market. A vertical e-commerce might disrupt the market. The fifth horizontal e-commerce is not going to disrupt the same e-commerce market. So I think that's the kind of awareness that you need as an entrepreneur, that what am I dealing with? And as I said, if it's purely an execution thing, stay with it, back yourself to find it till you can. Those are battles worth fighting. If it's a market one, the trickiest, because you want to be there just when it happens. If you give up just 2 months before that, you'll feel bad. But if you are many years early, it's not worth spending that time. You'll be fatigued by the time that market shows up.
Got it. Okay. And when you say that already or taken markets that have been taken or they've been hard structured in a certain way, they also move when there's a technological shift around. And I
Yeah.
think we're living through one. We're in the middle of one. I don't know how middle we are in to it, but what are your thoughts on AI and for Indian market? Indian market is a
AI,
consumption play. What do you see breaking? And you can also answer this with respect to commerce, e-commerce.
I think AI has the potential to upend most of the markets. It's just
Okay.
uh, uh, for the first time, intelligence can be accessed, and the wisdom of the world can be condensed into um, uh, something that is accessible to everyone.
Right.
Now that can cause amazing disruption. And I think, having said that, you are not the only one with that power. So you better have a clear view of why you are better positioned to use it, leverage it, unleash it. But the incumbents who do not, incumbents have a benefit that they have the resources to leverage that. But incumbents who believe that they can stay close to it would be at risk. I think there's because more efficient way of doing the same thing will happen, and it is an opportunity that, um, see, the key thing here is anything that follows a logical process or anything that follows a repeatable kind of a pattern can be done by AI in a reasonably uh, good or better way than what humans are doing or will do in the near course. The only question is it cost effective to do it with AI today, or is it cost effective to do it with humans today? And otherwise, every replicable action can be managed by these agents. Now, in that new world, the business models can, the speed at which development can happen, coding can happen, processes, the learning curve that a lot of companies went through, that can be shortened so much. And product development cycles can be condensed so much if you are leveraging the right technology solutions out there for things like e-commerce as well. So I don't know which all sector will get, will see new players leverage AI to disrupt, or the incumbents kind of leverage AI to consolidate their position. Both will happen. But I think the change is there. AI adoption has to happen. It will change the way a lot of sectors work. Definitely, I believe healthcare will change.
See, you've always approached healthcare from an e-commerce perspective. You understand e-commerce very, very well. You've been in the game for a decade and a half. And e-commerce or consumer brands or DTC turns out to be a much bigger market than it is what I initially thought. It's a very, very potent play in India. Can you, or I'm sure you would have thought about that, can you pinpoint certain ways that's changing? And this is for an aspiring entrepreneur who's looking at building in these plays.
Sure. For e-commerce, I think number one, just the entire process and what does it take to develop a high quality e-commerce platform, and what should it look like? I think the rate at which product development can happen and the cost at which product development can happen, using the AI tools available. So for you to get started, I think at least you can use multitude of platforms that can just, some of the things are so straightforward, but doing it in a native manner is just not cost efficient anymore. It's building navigation systems, add to cart, payments, this, that. It's all ubiquitous. It can be done literally in days or sometimes hours now, rather than take a few years for you to get to a certain level where a consumer would use your product. Similarly, all your customer interactions, customer service, customer communications, they're all, as long as, so the early stage founder basically tries to, or rather has a view on how they would want to do everything. In AI, you can replicate yourselves in your own views in various ways, how the agents should deal with customers, you can just create those models that replicate the behavior you would go ahead with. The go-to market is faster, cheaper, more efficient. All that stuff happens with the various AI solutions at play. But then also the market or the customer intelligence that these systems can generate real time. It is native to the new players. It took a lot of time for the incumbents to build those systems of business intelligence. So the benefit that the incumbent has, what stays is, yes, your brand is known, your service and your operations are in place, but the big gap in the quality of the gap may be the other way. Your legacy may stop the bigger players from moving to the best in class product and customer experience. The new players may have an advantage. Having said that, I think the e-commerce world will continue to evolve towards more and more hyper personalization. Doing it dependent on systems is a much more efficient way to go about it than humans trying to merchandise that this is what you want or need. It's not possible at scale with humans. So we will see personalized categories do better with AI.
Tell me about that. What do you mean by systems versus humans determining your choice?
So, for example, I'm creating in healthcare. I have a platform, and now I open my 1mg. What products should I see? Who should decide that? Now, one way
should
to
not
do
be the
that
product
is that
manager, is what you're saying.
there would be a merchandising team that decides that, okay, I want to show this to this kind
That's
of
happening
person
everywhere. From Zepto to Blinkit to Swiggy, it happens everywhere. Yeah.
At 1mg already, it is the system that decides.
Okay.
Now, how does the system work is the point. And in all the large platforms, it is the systems that decide. And there are merchandising managers who override systems to take certain calls here and there. But how the system designs is today done through a logic flow.
Correct.
Male customer, this age, this location, this. I want to show this
It's
kind
not
of
AI.
product. It is tagged like that.
Right.
That will change to, okay, Prashant Tandon last time came, was looking for this, read an article around this stuff. This is the time of the year
like
when
Netflix.
It gets so there's it knows me. It knows me and what I might be most interested or what I might care about. Because it knows that, okay, sometimes I come to buy for myself, sometimes I come to buy for my children, sometimes for my parents, and it knows what is the right thing at which point in time, because it is like a very intelligent storekeeper who has a relationship with you, and you walk in and it basically knows, okay, sir, aap aa jaaye hain, so what do you want? And I know these are the kind of things that you are generally interested in. So that level of personalization is actually what is going to happen. If not happening already at a rapid pace. So new entrepreneurs can build personalized first. They don't have to build generic first. It's not that first you build a supply chain, then you start getting rule-based kind of relevance and recommendation engines, then you get into personalization. Today you start personalize. Why go through that entire rigmarole?
Lovely. Okay. Okay, cool. I think this was a great conversation. I want to ask you a personal parting question.
Sure.
So, Prashant, people of your league usually sell their company and eventually move out. Why did you choose to stick with Tata for so long? Is Tata so good?
No, so I think the reason I first of all we did the deal with the group was because of very well aligned values and understanding of what we want to build here. I think
Right.
the opportunity is to create a really significant healthcare company, and I believe that the Tata Group could be the right partner for me to go ahead and kind of live my aspiration. The second was I still have a very clear unfinished agenda, which is we need to get this company to full profitability and sustainability, and enough professionalization. Uh, I would really be the happiest person if I can make the company uh, reach a situation where it would stand and grow on its own, and I'm as redundant as I could be. Right now, I feel there's a lot I have to build. There's a lot of interesting things, and what I'm getting from the group is leverage rather than uh, the wanting to move on to build something else. I think healthcare has just way too many interesting things happening right now, so keeps me excited enough to stay and build.
So your mission wasn't over with acquisition, and acquisition was more like an enabler in terms of Tata backing you.
Yeah. I still continue to operate like I did, so nothing changes in that regard. Acquisition, or rather the strategic partnership, was a point in time for the company. Which was a great milestone, but I think what we have built since and what we have to build from here, that's the more exciting part of the journey. And it's healthcare has to change, and it needs the resources that a group like this can provide.
Lovely. Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much, Prashant. This was
All right.
great. Thank you. Lovely.
All right. It's a pleasure speaking with you. Thanks.